Yeah, this episode of Undead Murder Farce makes you want to, think things make sense, and they definitely wanted us to think that our maid died. Do I believe it? No, but if she did indeed fall over that waterfall, and the werewolves, which I think are down below there, and she has no gun or weapon, I mean, that ain't looking good for her, and that's a pretty shocking cliffhanger. I mean, seriously, even though everything about your gut instinct says the maid will make it, it's things are up in the air right now. That's all I'm saying. But the biggest is that they seemingly reveal the killer, and Alma transforms seemingly. She admits to killing the kids, and it's like you're left saying, I guess it makes sense, but does it? Because I don't know, man. Like, everything about this show makes me second guess things. Like, did she even transform? Was that actually her transforming, or was it someone else? Did a kid fake her own kidnapping? Like, there's just a lot of uncertainty, and nothing's really making sense, and things are seemingly being revealed far too soon, which has me believe there's still a ton of plot twists incoming, and that kind of has me excited for more. But I do have a full live reaction to today's wonderful Undead Murder Farce episode available on my Patreon, so if you would like to see that, it's over there if you're interested. This has definitely risen to be one of my personal favorite shows to check out every single week, and it's like, I feel bad in a way because, honestly, I was going to double up. I was gonna, not talk about it on the channel this week, and then I would come back next week when we had episode 11, because my thoughts are more jumbled than normal, and I think it's gonna be very hard for me to make, a cohesive sentence, or, really break it down for people who might come in for me to explain to them, but it's like, bro, I don't know. I'm shooketh. There's so much, when they're, talking, at the start of this episode, you hear the bells and the sound, and I'm like, is this even real? Is this a flashback? And ultimately, it makes sense. They're talking about how, werewolves, they have very keen senses, so smells and sounds. If you were to disturb their senses, something would trigger, maybe the ears would, pop up, like we see with the kid, right? It just can accidentally happen, so you have to be very careful. But even in that moment, you probably all are thinking the same thing, well, they could probably train themselves, right, to maybe withstand certain things that would normally reveal them to be a monster to a normal human, right? But what's interesting is that when they meet up with Alma, and we see this, painting session going on, right, there's obviously holes in what she's saying or her backstory, but at the end of the day, she's very clearly passionate about art. Even if she's lying about where she comes from, art is clearly a passion for her. And I'm like, okay, it would make sense, because we're talking about how, every morning or something, there's, this golden wolf that, runs out that way, right? And apparently this golden wolf is basically God to the wolves in general. Basically, werewolves are very careful about choosing their mate, because essentially they're trying to build into, the best version of a werewolf in terms of their offspring. And seemingly, that's what this gold werewolf is, because silver bullets literally do nothing. It probably hurts to have anything. It's like wearing a bulletproof vest, right? You're still gonna get the bruise, but it's not like it kills or pierces, right? And that seemingly is what we're dealing with. And if that's the case, one, how do you kill something like that if it is seemingly indestructible? Are we gonna have an Aya situation where, we just gotta hope for the best that this thing's gonna leave humans alone? But there's a lot of uncertainty, because as you go through this village and you talk to this one man who talks about how he found this woman pregnant, right? 6 months later, gave birth to this girl, and clearly he was in love with the woman, and then how, the kid showed signs of being a werewolf, and everyone picked up their weapons, torturing, burning, and all this, and it's like, okay, they found the body. The body does line up to being a wolf mother and kid, right? But it's like, everything that I'm seeing that has seemingly been revealed, I still feel like everything's a lie, or there's still things left to tell. And the reason I say, did she even transform, right? Because as far as we know, because we saw the silhouette of her, freaking out, and she starts changing, but there's plenty of moments where she goes down below the window and then, comes back up. So it's I don't know, everything about this has me second guessing, and that's kind of the brilliance of this arc. And what I said, I think it was in my previous video, about how it kind of feels like the previous arcs kind of trained us to build into this moment. We had the kind of who done it, who killed the vampire mother, and then of course we had the whole working with Sherlock Holmes, who's gonna steal, can loop and do it. And it feels like everything we've kind of learned about this show has built us up into this big final hurrah for the season. And man, you would think normally, and this is just compliments to the author and the studio who's clearly adapting it, because I feel like with a lot of mysteries for me, once I see one or two things get solved, or I see how an author or even an anime or a show kind of directs mystery, I feel like it's easier to figure out where they're going. But with this one, it feels like it's my first time watching this show. Like, this could have been the first arc of this show, and I'm like, man, it's fresh. I don't know where they want to go. I don't really know the author's style all too well. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I think the use of flashback, especially with the black and white kind of grainy filters and the use of color, especially in the noise one when they're like banging on the bells and everything like that, they just really captured such an ominous and confusing vibe. And that's kind of this episode in a nutshell for me. I mean, the action that we did get, there was kind of like 2 quick moments. The one at the end is a bit longer, but we had the cowboys roll in, and honestly, my boy Sugaru, I love him. He can smile in the face of anything, even when 2 guns are pointed at his head. He makes sure to finish his food first, of course, as the tables get flipped. Some pretty cool animation there. I thought we were kind of building into either that man who they were talking to was going to pull a gun and shoot and do something stupid, or they were going to immediately work with us and kind of be like an enemy of my enemy is my friend, because we did see Moriarty's crew kind of chilling in the background, so that's my gut impression. And then instead, no, they just leave after that, and then what we end up getting was a very quick fight between our boy and this golden werewolf, and he has some pretty good moves. I like kind of how he sort of fights similar to Sanji from One Piece in a way, with how he kicks and spins, and the idea of letting it bite his ankle so then he could get a headlock. Honestly, had they not shot, I mean, they probably would have done a bit better there, because he did have it in a kind of submission hold, all things considered. And then, of course, we build into our girl going over the falls, and I mean, the idea of just how much she clearly loves her mistress, right? The idea of just jumping in, not even thinking about herself, tossing the cage to Sugaru, and then realizing that it's too late to save herself. And yeah, we get some funny moments, like the fact that they're still smacking and slobbering around in each other's mouths, and it's like literally to the millisecond, like as soon as she knows they're done, she rips her away. She's like, no, this is my mistress. And it's funny, man, it is. And honestly, I thought it was a one-time kiss, but apparently they be doing that every night by the looks of it, and she ain't liking it. And do I think she's dead? No. But they do want you to assume the worst, which is why they cliffhangered it in the way that they did, right? I wish I could say I completely know where this is going, but honestly, I think that's kind of the fun thing right now about this show, is that even after watching now 10 episodes of Undead Murder Farce, they still have me saying, bitch, I don't know where we're going, but that's kind of the charm of it. I wish this was a 2-core so we could continue on with this well into the next season, but I'm just happy we got something this quality, so passion-filled, and so different and distinct than what you typically see in an anime season like this. But let me know your thoughts and theories, especially your theories if you got any. I mean, there's a lot to break down, but let me know what you thought of seemingly the reveal, and do you second guess everything as much as me? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel, and like I mentioned, we do have a full live reaction to today's episode available on my Patreon. And hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Cryptoct, Daniel Darby, Darian Smith, Darthwin Wright, David Story, and Davlin. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care. Have a good one.